Hello and welcome to this edition of the Screen One interview. And today I am joined by one of the main stars of Blonde Purple, which is Ellie Bindman. Hello, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. So for all of you who may or may not have seen the film, you're probably wondering why Ellie is speaking an English accent. That's probably because she's English. She's not actually American, even though it's a very, very convincing job you do in Blonde Purple. So do you want to tell us about your character and everything about the film that you can?
Yeah, that I can, exactly. No spoilers. So I play a character called Madison, and she's a very, very complex character, I think would probably be the best way to sum her up. She is going through a lot. She has a very kind of complicated relationship with her mum, which is touched on and kind of brought into her backstory quite a bit. But she's kind of on a mission, essentially, to gain something back that was taken from her. I think that's the best way to describe it. And she finds herself in a very, very sticky situation as she has been taken hold as a hostage. And the film starts off with this like interaction and seeing her as the hostage, and you're kind of thinking, what's going on? Why is she there? What's her purpose? And then throughout the film and the kind of growth of her, we really start to see the true development of Madison and kind of the trials and tribulations that she's faced in life and kind of how it's affected her. And yeah, she goes on a massive, massive character arc, which was phenomenal to play. But yeah, she's very, very complex character, and she comes in and out every so often, so you're kind of never forgetting about her. She's always in the back of your mind. I think weirdly, and I feel very weird saying this, she's quite relatable. Really
that's worrying. For those of you who've seen the film, that's very worrying. But yeah.
But I think as an audience member, which is what our whole team have kind of said we want the audience to take away, is you kind of do find yourself feeling for these characters, and you feel sorry for them and you empathize for them, and you think, hang on a moment, that's not right. Why am I doing that? But you do, because they show so much and so many different barriers that get broken down, and emotion barrages and all that you really do connect and you empathize. And I think that's what I want the audience to take away from it, 100%.
It is quite an intensive, especially your scenes in particular. They're very, very intensely emotional. How do you I mean, you're looking at the script going, right, I've got to be like, it's really full on. How do you get yourself up for that the whole way through the shoot?
Oh, that's a really tricky one. I think the whole team, cast and crew were just absolutely phenomenal to work with, and Julian, my scene partner and the lead of the film, is just incredible. Like, I will never stop shouting his praises because he's just wonderful. And I think when you get a script through, because obviously I had the audition and it was like 2 or 3 scenes, I was like, okay, she's a hostage in a bank, okay, we've kind of got this. And then the whole script came through and I was like, oh wow, there's a lot more to her. And you kind of pinpoint in your brain, you're like, right, okay, this is gonna, you target the ones that are going to be really tricky, and you're like, right, that's going to be hard, this is going to be particularly hard. And I think you do sometimes get in your head about that, and you worry and you panic, and you're like, oh God, what if I don't get on with the person, or what if we work completely differently? And I think you can agree from watching it that we have such a like bond in this film that it had to be like a team, essentially, to get ourselves through it, because it was really harrowing at some points. And I won't say which ones, but there were a couple of scenes where we actually never even rehearsed them. So the majority of them, we had a really, really quite couple of rehearsal sessions. They're really long and really in depth, and we blocked it all, and we were like, you stand here, you move. Camera work goes around here, and it was all planned out, so we knew exactly what we're doing. We were coming in, and then we just did our lines and we did what came with it. But there were a couple of scenes that me and Julian both were like, no, we don't want to know what each other's going to do. And when we got on set, we were like, yeah, this is a great idea. And then we started shooting, we were like, oh no, what have we done? But it was just like, you could hear a pin drop on the set, because our scenes are quite long. Our scenes, I don't think we actually do really have a short scene. They're all like 8 to 10 minutes long, I'd say. So when you're kind of doing it at that extent, it was like a day on each scene we spent.
Yeah.
And it was so many emotions that we were just each other's support network, and it was just incredible. Like, I'd finish a scene crying and he'd like come over, give me the biggest hug and be like, are you okay? And it was just such a lovely balance because we were really dependent on each other. And I think that's what kind of made our bond so special in the film. And I think it really does resonate on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said before we just started this that the scenes in the film I enjoyed the most are the scenes in the bank. I mean, you're quite in your face with each other quite a lot of the time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Literally quite in your face at times. And it's also very dialogue heavy as well. So was that a lot of pre-rehearsal, pre-planning beforehand? Because it's a lot of words.
There was a lot of like monologues that we kind of, especially Julian. It was very, very dialogue heavy. And I think that in itself is quite overwhelming, because usually when you come onto a job, you just have to think of the character, you have to think of the dialogue, and then that's it. Whereas we had to think of accents as well, obviously, with the Americans. So yeah, there was just a lot of kind of added on things to think about. But I think it honestly just made it what it was. And I have a funny story, actually. There's one scene where I'm on a phone call, and in the script it's like a big monologue. I can say which scene. It was the one where I'm talking about pizza. And so I didn't improv it, but we had the monologue, and then I wanted to ad-lib loads of bits because I was like, oh, it's a phone call, it'll be quite funny, like just switch it up a bit. And Marcus was like, go for it. We were shooting above a primary school, and we shot this scene around like midday, lunchtime, so obviously it's their lunchtime, and our sound guy's like, oh my God, you can just hear the kids screaming. And I'm like, oh, please no. And he was like, it's fine, they've stopped. We then, in like April this year, had to come in and do some ADR work.
Right.
ADR, that whole entire monologue. So that's all ADR'd.
Oh, wow. So all of that hard work, and you had to redo it.
Yeah. Which was
Did you remember all your ad libs though? That's
the thing. I'd done all these ad libs, and Marcus was like, can you do it? And I was like, I'll try. But that was quite funny. We had a lot of ADR work to do. So that was like not nerve-wracking to see come together, but I think that's always the part where you go, oh God, please work. And it did, thank goodness. So yeah, that's
it's
a fun little.
And you also get to mess around with some guns in that. I mean, obviously with the recent news was I mean, it probably happened before all that, but it, you know, how was that? Have you worked with guns before or anything like that?
No. And it was really heavy.
Oh, was it?
I felt really heavy. I'm not the strongest person. I mean, it's probably not that heavy. I'm probably just incredibly weak. But Julian obviously is carrying it for the majority of the film. Didn't bat an eyelid. And then there's me picking it up, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Someone underneath you like that.
Just like, you got it.
It's another skill. I can pick up a gun. Finally.
Exactly.
So you're outside of Blonde Purple. You're actually very busy, aren't you? You've got plenty of stuff coming up and short films you've been involved in. But I'd probably say you're one of the hardest working people I've spoken to of late. According to your IMDb, you've got an awful lot of work in a short amount of time. So how do you find the time, and B, how do you pick all your projects that you want to work on?
I think, well, finding the time, it's just what I love doing. So when I'm at my busiest, I'm the happiest, which is what sounds really weird. I feel like when you do a shoot, and anyone who works in film or television will be able to kind of relate to this, you are literally in a bubble. So you're waking up at like 4 a.m. to get to set, and then you're coming home at like 10, 11. And it's so draining, but it's the most fun because that's just your life for however many days. So it's just, I think it's just a mindset you get yourself in. And I think, especially with the past, everything that's happened in the past year and a bit, work has been so few and far between for so many people. I'm just, everything that comes through, whether it be even an audition or a meeting or whatever, I'm so eternally grateful, because I know so many people who just aren't working, and it's really hit everyone. So I'm very lucky for starters, which I think I just am so thankful, which kind of powers me through it, and I love it. And then in terms of like picking projects, it's as long as I read a script that I can connect to and I can relate to, and I'm like, yeah, this I can envisage it. I think if you read a script and you can literally see the scene lifting off the page, you're onto it. So yeah, it's just something that it's really like eye-catching and grips you instantly. I think if you're gripped with just reading it, then you're going to be onto a winner when you get all the kind of added elements put into it.
So that said, how did you come to Blonde Purple? How did you end up
So I initially had a self-tape come through for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very brief. I think my brief was literally, I think she was called a different name at that point. But it was the character's name, her age, and then is a hostage. That was all I had. So I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. And then I had that monologue scene for my audition where I talk about, how do I explain this? You'll know which one it is. It's the the one that I do for the audition and then I read it. It's that one. So I had that for my self-tape scenes. It was literally a monologue. And then I kind of, in my head as an actress, 2 weeks is kind of my cutoff point. So if I don't hear anything, I'm like, put it to bed, move on. And it was about 3 weeks after my self-tape that I heard back and they wanted me to come in for a room audition. So went in for a room audition, did the room audition, and then I think it was 2 or 3 more self-tape recalls after that. So it was quite an intensive audition process. And I remember, because obviously I didn't know the full extent of this character and what she goes through and the main body of the story. And it was the same scene they kept sending me. So they were like, can you do this scene crying? Can you do it really happy? Can you do it angry? And I was like, huh? I was so confused, but I was like, you do what they want. And then I read the script and I was like, oh, I see why. Because there's a lot of emotions. And I think they wanted to see the kind of same thing done in a variety of ways. So it was definitely something I've never ever done before for an audition, but it paid off, thank goodness.
Yes, it did. No, it paid off very, very well. So where are we going to see you next then? What is the next thing that we're going to see from you?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I just recently finished doing a short film that was kind of a sequel to a film that's already out, which is called Floppy Toast and Drippy Butter. Mm-hmm. And that's a very kind of emotional, harrowing story about a girl who is bullied and is suicidal. So that was kind of a very emotional story to portray. And I think it's so important to do things like that can help people. I've always said, as long as I can make things and create things that have an impact on people's lives and can help people in some way, then I've done my job. So I got asked back to do a sequel for that, which is actually really, really cool. And it's the bully's perspective.
Okay.
So it's really, really interesting. So that should be coming out hopefully in the next couple of months. And I've got a few things that I can't say. And then just auditioning and just seeing what comes through. But excited for what the future is going to hold, I think is a very kind of good way to put it. And obviously with the whole release of Blonde Purple and kind of seeing how it will be received and how people will kind of see me in this, because it's a very, very, very different role to anything I've ever done. Like all my family and friends, I usually play like the schoolgirl because I look 16 years old, hence why I'm playing a 16-year-old. I look so young. So they're used to seeing me like in a school uniform, just being, or I play the victim quite a lot, like I play the person being bullied. So I think for them to see me in this is going to be very, very cool.
It's definitely a far cry away from Cool Midwife, isn't it? Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
a lot of crying. So they used to that.
Cool Midwife, yeah. But I mean, so also people can find you on social media. So tell us about your social media, because obviously we need people to see more of you and what you're doing.
Yeah. So in lockdown actually last year, I was kind of, everyone was so like down. It was such an like uncertain time we were all in, and I was kind of thinking, how can I cheer people up? What can I do that's going to kind of distract people? And obviously my body of work, as with this film, is very intense. I never really do comedy. I'd love to, but it's not really the style I kind of get put up for, which I love. It's a lot of intense drama, kind of gritty themes, which it's a dream to work on. But then my escape from that kind of is to do sketches and like comedy work, like stand-up comedians. I love. They're literally like my like free therapy. I think they're a genius art form. So I started a TikTok account and just kind of posted videos of me like lip syncing over TV shows and stand-up comedians and doing my own little sketches here and there. And it wasn't being seen. It was just being seen by friends and family. And I was like, this is fine, as long as I'm just bringing a smile to people's faces. And then out of nowhere, it just kind of started to evolve. And just over a year later, we're sitting on nearly 500,000 followers.
As you do.
Incredible to me. Yeah. Like, I think I'm on like 440, I don't know. But it's mind-blowing, because I never ever thought people would like that, I guess. And it's just my little weird sense of humor that people have seemed to kind of enjoyed, and then through that, which I'm so lucky for, people have obviously then discovered that I do acting and have kind of come along on my journey with me, which is so, it's really beautiful, and it's really humbling, because I get messages like, if this, everyone's so excited, and they're like, oh my god, I can't wait to watch it. And they've literally kind of grown with me, which I really love. So yeah, I do TikTok. So my TikTok is Ellie.Bindman.
So fairly straightforward then.
Very straightforward. It's just my name.
Very straightforward.
Just
So
my name in the middle.
so untapped potential there, definitely, with the comedy stuff. So any directors watching, your next comedy star is right. Well, which way this flips around, but for me it's this side. Yeah. Yeah, your next comedy star is here waiting. So I've got to say thank you very much for your time, everybody. Blonde Purple came out yesterday, which was the 30th of November, so it is available on digital already. Make sure you get and watch it. It is amazing. The review is on screen one if you want to read it. I'll put all the links in here, as well as your TikTok and everything else. Most of all, thank you for your time. No, that's fine. And Blonde Purple was absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch it again. And we hope to see you on the screen soon again, and then we can maybe catch up again soon.
Amazing.
Yeah, that'll be brilliant. So we will be watching your career with, with deep interest. So yes, we hope to keep up and see you soon. So thank you again for your time, and we'll see you all again very soon on the Screen One interview. Goodbye.